Jesus freak here. So I found out about a code release yesterday. And to give you a little introduction of what code, I have to start with the series of mergers and acquisitions regarding a little company called Infocom that was started in the late 70s by a bunch of AI researchers. Yeah, AI researchers in at MIT. I believe it was a different group within MIT than the group from which Richard Stallman and the GNU project comes from. But, there's some shared culture between them. Anyway, Infocom had higher hopes, but the guys had written this game called Zork because they wanted to try to see if they could do something better than Colossal Cave Adventure. And Adventure was written in Fortran. They used a language called Muddle, MDL, that was basically a weird version of Lisp that originated at MIT. Now, in the late 70s, you had the beginning of the home computer era with the so-called Holy Trinity of computers, the Commodore PET 2001, the Tandy TRS-80, and the Apple II. And Infocom decided to target them all. Now, when you have to write the same program for three computers, it's kind of hard. And it's only partially mitigated by the fact that the Apple II and the PET had the same CPU. So, they decided to do something different and create sort of a virtual machine. This is more or less the same idea you'd see later with Java. And there were other people doing this at the same time. University of California, San Diego implemented Pascal with a virtual machine. So they created this virtual machine as a way to easily convert text adventure games. So they could build it once, and then with like a little stub of code, they could run the same game on whatever they wanted. And this was their claim to fame. And they started out, they decided to bring this Zork game that they'd worked on for some time to home computers. But they knew that the game was too big. It barely fit on a PDP-10 at the time. And I believe that's like somewhere between a mini computer and a mainframe. So we're talking a big iron. And it barely ran on that. So there's no way we're going to fit it on a home computer of the late 1970s. So they wound up cutting it into three. And so we have Zork as we know it now. Well, eventually when Infocom fell on harder times, they got bought out by Activision. Then Activision changed hands, and the guy who took over from the previous CEO didn't like Infocom very much and basically killed him off. More recently, Activision's been bought out by Microsoft. So it's Microsoft that just released the code. They didn't release the various build tools or whatever. There are build tools that exist that can build it, but now the code's out there forever. That's a good thing. Now, I've been thinking, and, this is like, it kind of sort of dovetails into stuff that I've done before. And it kind of sort of doesn't. And either way, it's eye-rollingly complex to someone like me. I once wrote a simple 6502 assembler, and I've written some emulators, never one with a working CPU core. I came close. I have one with a really buggy CPU core that I wrote. So, yeah, I've been in this field a bit. So I'm like, here's something I want to do, but I know it's out of my realm. I want to try to basically recreate. It's already out there, but I want to recreate it so that it can be, bundled with it and have, like, the whole thing. The code that Microsoft released. Something that can build it, and something that can run it. Now, you have Zilch and Zap, I think, are out there, the original tools. You have Zilf and ZapF, which are modern tools written in C#. Not a fan of C#, but they're out there. And there's hundreds of different programs, JZip, Frotz, Infotask Force, Nipfall. There's hundreds of programs out there that run the games. But I'm like, I need to figure out some way. I want to be able to run the games with a custom interpreter that's pared down so it doesn't have to do a million and other things. A lot of these programs that run Infocom games run not only the older ones like Zork 1, 2, and 3 that Microsoft released, they'll release some more complex games like Beyond Zork or Zork Zero, or the millions of unofficial games that use the same engine. So I'd want something can do just these older ones. That also means it gets it a lot simpler. So, if I'm just dealing with the one simpler version of the runtime, the one simpler version of the system, there's not as much to deal with as we'd have with having to support every version that exists. And there's 8. That's just some thoughts I'd add about this. Jesus freak out.